Welcome to the Accidental Experts podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Hamilton. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a child and family therapist. I have been in practice for over 15 years, and I'm also a mom of 4. So I know the challenges both professionally and personally. I'm so glad that you're here today to grow your parenting toolbox. Please come as you are and be ready to learn. My goal is to make you the accidental expert so that you can raise healthy humans. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm so glad you're with us today. So I think we all have this goal to raise healthy families, but sometimes it seems harder than it needs to be, or maybe harder for us than it seems to be for other people. And so we have Amy Staheli, and she is with Healthy Families Thrive, and she is a parenting coach who's going to help us with some tips and tricks that she uses with her families and her own family about how to raise healthy families. With that, let's get to Amy.
Thanks for having me, Bryce. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yes. I mean, I think ideally we're all trying to raise healthy families. So,
100%.
and it's actually harder than it looks.
It is. It is, especially given our age of technology. I think it
Yes.
makes the job as parents a lot more harder because there is a lot more information and opinions coming
Mhm.
at you, and you are now required to sift through it all, whereas before things were very much kept in house. And
Yes.
now these days that is just not really the way it is.
Yeah. There's just so much going on and it can be overwhelming. And so a lot of times I find that parents just don't have the time. So they just wing it, right? And I
Mhm.
think we all are kind of winging it to a certain extent, if I'm being honest. I mean, like, I have the benefit of being a child therapist, but like there are a lot of things that I'm like, I don't know how to solve this problem. Right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and so I have to like go out into the world to find information. So finding credible sources can be hard. So we're glad you're here to help us out.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about when we talk about like raising healthy families, which I mean, I put that in air quotes because like who determines what healthy is? But like thinking about our kids being healthy physically, but happy and all the things. What do you think are the key areas that we should be focusing on as parents?
Yeah, a lot of time our dialogue, the language we use is that physical health equals mental health, and then
Hmm.
you're more inclined vice versa as well. So we promote to our families that as parents we should model a strong physical health for our children. So being everything from nutrition and movement, those sorts of things, we kind of view it as like a gateway drug in a way that when you are more physically healthy, you are more inclined to be strong, mentally healthy. You're more inclined to
Hmm.
be a resilient person. Just your body is functioning at a more optimal state. So it is allowing all those other things to function at a more optimal state. When there's that saying, you are what you eat. So, like, when we're putting in all this negativity and this pollution and this like
Hmm.
stagnant lifestyle, and your body's just sort of there, then all of your reactions and the way you view things are going to model that. So if we
Hmm.
want the best outcome, we have to give it the best opportunity to have the best outcome. So yeah, they're very much related. And
Yeah.
as parents, it's our job to teach our children about the world, right? That is
Yeah.
parenting 101, is we are raising humans. And if we wanted to, teach our children that the world was flat, we could do that, right? Like, we
Hmm.
are their resource to the world. So
Hmm.
when it comes to, health and wellness, we are their resource to the world. So um, I often, unfortunately, hear parents say things like, "Oh, I can't wait till one day you learn that that's just not good for you." Well, it's not really the way it works. We are the ones to teach them that that's not good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, yeah, that is requiring parents to be more of an active participant in the here and now. Meaning, I hear you talking about modeling, which I think is so important. Our words matter, right? What we say to our kids matters, right? What we say to other people in our lives, because I know that I've given this example before, but I was playing cards with my daughter, and we were playing Skippo, and I kept getting like the card that I just played. So like you're trying to build a stack from 1 to 12. And so like I played a 10 that was on my stack, and then I had a 10 again. And I was like, of course. Right. And then I heard my daughter say that, and I was like, ooh, that no, not doing that, right? Like, but it was like such a good feedback, right? To hear that, to be like, actually, I need to change that. And so then I catch myself. And then I said to my daughter, hey, I know that I say that, right? Like, I know that where you got that was me. And I actually, when you said it, I felt really differently about that, because I realized that it was not the right thing for me to be saying, because like, this is just a game, and sometimes we get the same number and it's really not a big deal. And in life, sometimes we do something and then we delete the document and we have to do it again, and like that stinks. But we can look at this positively, right? This is just a game, or this is an opportunity. Maybe I get to rewrite this, even though that's frustrating or whatever it is. But I think, yeah, we are such a model for our kids. So that seems like an important piece for us to really be taking ownership of.
For sure. Yes. I 100% agree. And the nice thing with kids is there's room for error. Like, we're not perfect, you know? So
Yeah.
just like in your game example there, or if there's another situation in life where you do something or you react a certain way and you're like, oh, cringe, like that was so horribly played. Like, it should not have come out like that, or I should have
Mhm.
reacted differently. Then we just model that for our kids. Like, come to them, apologize, say, you know what, I got super caught up in my emotions and I forgot to calm myself down before I reacted, and it just
Mhm.
came out, and I should have done it this way, or whatever, I should have said this. And we can show that for our kids. It shows them how to be a good human, and a way to
Yeah.
apologize when you make mistakes, and not just act like nothing happened when you notice you make a mistake. Like, it's okay to say, I made a mistake. Sometimes they're huge mistakes, you know, but
Mhm.
we're parents, we're humans too. We have
Mhm.
emotions, we have triggers, and sometimes we're busy and life happens, and just those days kind of blow up at you. And then therefore your reactions are sort of following suit. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay to just admit that you're wrong, or take something on together. You know, we say that a lot with the clients that we work with. Or, you know, they're feeling like, oh, okay, we need to start building this healthy lifestyle. We never had the models when we were growing up of what a
Mhm.
healthy lifestyle is. You know, where do we begin? And it's like, begin together. You know, there's nothing wrong with going to your child and saying, you know what, we need to eat more healthy at home. We need to take on some daily movement, make sure we get
Mhm.
outside every day, make sure we spend intentional time together. Let's
Mhm.
do all these things together. Like, how do you envision hanging out tomorrow? Or what would you like to have for supper? Let's go to the grocery store. Like, you're a family, you can do it together. It doesn't always have to be this hierarchy of like parent to kid, you know, like even toddlers, they just want to be around you as a parent,
Mhm.
right? So just involve them, get them
Yeah.
into the things, get them learning with you, you know? There's
Yeah.
power in that. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's an easier way to teach too, right? Is in the moment, right? Like when somebody is like, do it like this, and they're just describing it to me, that for me is way harder than I'm definitely a kinesthetic learner. Like I like to do it and hear it. And so like cooking for me is something I love to do and love to do with my kids, because we're doing it all in the moment, and I can tell about like how you crush garlic and why you do that and whatever it is. Like you can do all those things in the moment, and then you're not having to tell them at a separate time. So it actually, I mean, in my mind, takes the same amount of time as it would to cook it by myself or do it by myself and not tell anybody. But it's like in those spaces I'm able to incorporate them. So I think that is definitely, it's easier said than done, but it's uncomfortable when you've never done it.
For sure, for sure. But the key to that is just patience, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're just patient with yourself and patient with the process, you know, obviously, if you're like, I just picked you up from school, we have half an hour to turn around before we get to ballet class. Well, that might not be the opportunity to start doing this. You
Mhm.
know, maybe save it for the weekend, for a Friday night, a Saturday night, that sort of thing. and
Mhm.
just be patient. Allow the process to just happen. Don't set a time to it, like this has to be done in the next 30 minutes. Just go. And sure, things in the beginning might seem like more of a struggle because there is a lot more learning happening,
Mhm.
but then it develops its own rhythm and it's not as time consuming, um, in the long run.
Yeah. Okay, so I have to ask you, this might seem a bit backwards, but how did you get to this place, right? Of you're a mom, you like something happened that triggered something in you to say like I need to help other parents figure out what I figured out.
Yeah, so my husband and I have sort of been in healthcare. He's a chiropractor, and I've sort of been on the mental health side of things for probably combined over 20 years for sure. And we worked in brick and mortar. He had his own clinic, and I had a office that I would see kiddos at. And we were often just sort of consulting each other.
Mhm.
I would say, I have this case, da 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 da, and we would kind of consult with each other. And so our family just got to a point in life where we were just looking for a bit of a transition away from brick and mortar, and online sort of always piqued our interest because our reach was so much broader.
Yeah.
We were able to help the people in our community when we were brick and mortar, but going online, you can help hundreds, thousands of more people. And so again, we started our own things online and then again just kept consulting with each other. So we said, what are we doing? Like, let's just put this together, like
Mhm.
one whole sort of package here, just encompassing raising healthy families, like everything from the physical to the mental to the emotional to all of it. And let's like put some stuff together to deliver to parents out there. So it's sort of the, in a nutshell way, how we got there. And we're parents ourselves. So there is a lot of time and trial and error behind,
Mhm.
the things that we preach to the families that we work with, because we lived it. We are living it. Like we
Mhm.
are walking in your shoes. So rather
Mhm.
than you having to bang your head up against the wall or feel hopeless or feel like, oh my gosh, there's so much out there, I don't even know where to start. We have taken that away for you. We can tell you, we can lead you through this process. So through our own personal and professional experience, we've been able
Yeah.
to tailor it down.
Yeah, which is so important. I remember when I first started in practice and I was not a mom yet, and people would say to me, like, do you have kids? And I'm like, what difference does it make? Like, I'm trained in all of these things. Like, I am an expert. I mean, not really, but like, that's not what I was thinking. But I was like, I have all this knowledge that I've spent all these years gaining. And then I had my first kid and I was like, oh, I get it, right? Like my
Oh
whole
yeah,
like sorry to all the previous parents I saw before having children. But it shifted, right? Like to really understand the complexities of what the demands are and what we allowed to be demanded of our family too. I think that is challenging. And so when we know that somebody's in it or has been in it, it definitely gives them some more credibility of like, you get how hard this is. And you have ideas to help make it more simple and to make it more approachable and fun, because I think sometimes we forget to just have fun with our kids.
for sure. For sure. Life's already serious enough,
Yeah.
like you said, you got to check it sometimes that this doesn't have to be another serious go around.
Yes, right. And to incorporate that. And there's so many ways that we can incorporate play and fun activities, even into hard conversations,
Hmm.
and our everyday tasks, right? Like taking out the trash or whatever it is. So, talk to me about what tips or tricks, simple everyday habits that parents can incorporate into their lives to help support their kids' well being.
Yeah, I think, taking the word simple, obviously, trying to keep healthy habits as simple as possible. But I think the biggest one is just spending intentional time with your kids. Like we touched on before, kids just want to be around us. They
Mhm.
don't want to look at us looking at a screen. They don't
Mhm.
want to look at us just stressing out in the kitchen or whatever it is. They just want to be with us. So, bringing them into our world and then also us stepping into theirs for a bit. It doesn't always have to be you sit on the floor and have 20 minutes of undivided attention playing. If you're unloading the dishwasher, get them to help you unload the dishwasher. If you're putting away groceries, get them to help you put away
Mhm.
groceries. Like just spending that intentional time together. Like if you're going to the grocery store, bring them. If you have more than one kid, sometimes it's a huge deal to them that I just got to go to the grocery store with mom. It was just me and mom.
Mhm.
Like, that's a big deal. It still gets your task done, but you're also spending this time together. So, I think, unfortunately, in the fast pace of life that we all live in these days, is intentional time together is often overlooked.
Mhm.
um, Kids are often overscheduled, families are often overscheduled. So that's just sort of something that gets pushed to the wayside, or people think, oh, we're all driving in the car together, we're
Mhm.
together. It doesn't really count when
No.
all the kids are on a screen and you're driving.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, heavy emphasis on that intentional, like, undistracted time. But I think that's just such an easy, low barrier of entry to starting some good, healthy habits. Like, a strong connection between a child and parent is so beneficial throughout their life, that intentional time will create that foundation.
Mhm. Well, and I'm just thinking back to my childhood, and like the times that I remember most were never the things that my parents bought for me. I mean, like I remember some of the items, but what I really remember is like the trips that we took together, or the time that we did something together. Like my dad was it was impossible for him to go to the store without somebody. I think that was like a trick to spend time with us, but like he literally couldn't go, and he'd be like, I can't leave until one of you volunteers, right? Like even when we were teenagers, and it'd be so annoying sometimes. But then, we would sing at the top of our lungs to music in the car, and just like those are the most cherished memories that I have, and that I am like trying to recreate, or just like create and allow to happen with my kids too. It's just that like intentional time to get to know them and see what makes them tick, because they're all different humans.
For sure, for sure. And, it's crazy to think that it's like become a lost art. Really connecting with your kids is,
Mhm.
so many things have taken priority when what is more important than being a parent, right?
Mhm.
And we've kind of got the priorities mixed up a bit. So I think really that intentional time with them is so valuable, as you mentioned, to your own memories. Like, you are an adult and those are still the
Mhm.
core memories that you have, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's hard. Do you have any other simple things that parents can do to incorporate into their lives?
Yeah, if we're just talking like, simplicity as well, but like, reading is a great habit.
Mm.
There's so much research that speaks to the benefit of reading to your kids from an early age to into their late ages. Just not only academically, but intelligently, but like self-regulation, even
Mhm.
those sorts of things. Research is showing that just constantly reading, to your kids has such a positive impact on their psyche and development.
Mhm. I think sometimes when we think about parenting, it's this thought that like everything is so complex and hard. And I think parenting is hard. There's a lot of pieces to navigate, and it's more about the multitasking. If we didn't have to go to work, there's no requirement for money to be made, right? Like if we could just get to know our kids and they were home all the time, I think there would still be challenges, but I think, those things might be easier to think of ourselves, but sometimes we don't think about how overscheduled our kids are. And in my practice, I often find that so many of the families, like either the kid or the parent, want the kid to be involved in so many activities, like everything, to not miss out on anything. And I don't know that, I mean, I would say that I know actually that having a kid that's overprogrammed is not good for them. And it's not good for us. We get stressed and frustrated, and we never see, like one parent's driving one place, the other parent's driving in the other. If you have the luxury of having two parents in a house, right? Like you're going like crazy, and all the other kids are going along, which, that teaches flexibility and resilience and just like some good skills, right? But
Yeah,
I mean, when we never have time to just play, free play is so important for kids. And it's so important for kids to be bored. I think that parents often overlook the value of boredom. And that's where kids' great ideas come from, when nobody else is telling them, you have this activity, you have to do this thing. They are just able to exist Because what I know is that as kids age, it doesn't get better. They don't know what to do with free time. And then they become adults who over program and over schedule and say yes to things that they really want to say no to because they're so afraid of being not in something, not having a pre-programmed event that they're doing, that they are not comfortable just being with themselves. Do you
Yeah.
find that too?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. I think as parents, the intention is well,
Yes.
we have received messages from society that's like, for your child to excel, they should be in martial arts, they should be in an art class, they should be in a music class, they should be in a sport. And you're just like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, I can't provide all these things to my child. I need to outsource it. So we need to be in
Mhm.
all these different activities and signed up for this and that when it doesn't have to be that way. You a can teach your children a lot of these things, and b, nobody said it had to be done in the first 5 years of their life, right? These are
Mhm.
skills that we can acquire over time and over a long period of time. Let's give kids
Mhm.
the opportunity to find things that they're actually interested in.
Yeah.
We're throwing so much at them, they have no idea because they're
Mhm.
just doing what they're told, right? Like you
Yeah.
said, they're not being given the opportunities to sort of come to these conclusions on their own because they're just following along is what they're
Mhm.
told to do. So,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. It's out there.
Yeah. Well, and I was just thinking, I was talking to my brother-in-law a bit ago, and he was talking about my husband's dad was very musical, like just very gifted in music. And so often all of the kids did like music lessons. But one of the things that has stuck with him most was just the music appreciation of getting to listen to lots of different types of music. And I think sometimes as parents, we don't think about that being a piece of education, right? So it's like, this is classical music, this is, jazz, this is whatever it is, to just, that is also a part of being involved in music. Music is so important and can be so helpful in regulating, but it's not just about learning to play music. That is obviously an important piece that people can do. I was not ever musical instruments are not my forte, right? Like it is not my strong talent. However, my husband is very inclined in that way. And so, as parents, we've been trying to figure out how to balance that. Of like, we do want to build up our kids' talents, like their natural abilities to do things and challenge them in other ways. But does all of that have to happen in a team setting or outside of school, right? Like some of these things I think do, but not everything.
For sure, for sure. I agree. There is a healthy balance, but I think unfortunately in society we've gone past that, and it's
Mhm.
more on this heavy side of overstructure. And you kind of see it in kids these days. Like a lot of kids are used to people doing things for them, right? Like we were talking about
Mhm.
with boredom. Well, that can extrapolate to so many other things just due to the nature of their fast-paced life. So parents have
Mhm.
lost the patience or
Yes.
forget the patience to allow them to do it. And they say, well, we got to go. So I'm going to do
Mhm.
it. You just hop in the car or you just grab your bag, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And so the kids all of a sudden are 10 years old or 15 years old and they've had everything done for them. And now the parents are like, I'm exhausted, and rightfully so, but you
Mhm.
haven't taught your child any of the skills. So now
Mhm.
you're kind of stuck, right? They don't have the skills. You're burnt out, exhausted, whatever it is,
Mhm.
and now you're kind of at this standstill here. And like all habits, it's easier to start a healthy habit than it is to correct a bad habit. And you can correct a bad habit, it just takes more of your time. So
Sure.
back to when we were talking about the patience, if we just put a little bit of that time in the beginning,
Mhm.
to help teach our kids these things, then we might not get to that point, or if we do, it might look totally different than if you were to just do it all from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, and I think a great way to model this is like I have a newly 3-year-old, and so I don't expect him to load the dishwasher, right? But my 8-year-old can load the dishwasher. But that's only because it's not just like one day we decided you're going to load the dishwasher. It's because we've been teaching it as a progressive skill. So the 3-year-old puts his plate in the dishwasher. Now, is it rinsed? No, right? Like it's not perfect, right? But it is it is good, right? Or
Yeah.
at least we're making it into the sink, like if the dishwasher is running or whatever, that we're taking responsibility to clean up after ourselves. Because I remember as a kid, my mom must have done more cleaning up after us than she made us clean up after ourselves, because she'd be like, I'm so tired of cleaning up after you. And I mean, I am not the most tidy person, but like I can respect an area and clean up. But I think it was just that she did it for me instead of requesting and expecting that I can do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes parents forget that in trying to like do it all, right? Like fix it, whatever. People are coming over, you just quickly pick stuff up, or it's the end of the day, so pick it up, or the kids are asleep, that we do have this opportunity to ask kids to do things and participate in our homes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you find that that's something that you recommend to families too?
Oh, 100%, 100%. We encourage parents to get their kids involved, like it is their life as well, so show them ownership over their life. How are we going to find out what our kids are into if we're constantly doing things for them? That's just, and again, it's not a fault of parent. We've been programmed with this messaging that the way you provide for your
Mhm.
child and your family is by doing, right?
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden that doing is everything, from
Hmm.
laundry to lunches to cleaning to signing you up for sports and being your taxi, taking you around town, like organizing the play dates, the baby groups, whatever it is. Like we have taken this doing and providing and now covers every aspect of their life. Like there's parents that do their kids' homework, just because
Mhm.
they feel sorry for them and they're overwhelmed or whatever the
Sure.
reasoning may be, but it
Yeah.
happens out there. There's it's sad, but there are stats of kids these days bringing their parents to job interviews because
Mhm.
that's how they feel comfortable. That's a security to them. That's how they have learned to interact with the world, is with their parent right at their side. And, that is an extreme disservice. And, it it's hard. I completely agree because like we said in the beginning, we're getting information from 1,000 different ways. We're getting messaging, whether we want to receive it or not,
Mhm.
from everything out there. Just that's the day and age we live in with technology. Like it's literally everywhere. And so, parents kind of get stuck in these ruts, and then you look around you, and because something is common, you think it's
Mhm.
normal. So
Yeah.
then you think like, well, we're not bad. Like, look at the Joneses. They do this. I feel like
Mhm.
we're pretty good. Well, just because something's common doesn't mean it's normal, right? Or
Yeah.
sorry, doesn't mean it's healthy.
Yes. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, because it's like, yeah, I think we do kind of compare ourselves to the other families around us, and everybody seems to be doing things, whatever it is, right? And so then that's our justification, even if it feels bad within us. So, like, one thing I have a really hard time with, and we haven't pushed against this too hard yet, but is kids sporting activities and going until like their bedtime or past their bedtime, right? My kids need sleep. And I'm thankful that we haven't pushed against this yet. But it's only because my second oldest is our first one to do sports. And so that is just not something that we have gotten to yet, but I know it's coming, of like an 8 o'clock game. And it's like, we have to sleep. And so it's like picking these things of like, how are you going to support your kid and support being active and support their sleep needs, right? Like, how do you balance all this? And there is not an easy answer. Do you have an easy answer to that?
Easy, no.
Yes.
But we tell our parents it all comes down to priorities and
Mhm.
really routines. Sometimes people laugh and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like you're so routine. We know exactly what you're going to do at this time." But the routines allow us to honor the things that work
Mhm.
for us, and those
Yeah.
should be our healthy habits, right? So
Mhm.
if we need time to make meals so we have healthy options during the week, then we need to create our schedules so that time can happen. If
Yeah.
we need time for dad to get a workout in, have some alone time, then we need to create our schedule so that can happen. Same for mom. If we need time for sleep, which I agree is a huge one, then we need to have a strong routine. And and this is an agreement between mom and dad to being like, we know these things serve us and our family well. We need to be the leaders of this and make sure that these things happen daily for our family, right? So, yeah, and it's kind of like an 80-20 rule that we say to our families, like 80% of the time you are buying into this. But yes, of course, vacations happen. You go
Mhm.
camping for the weekend, you maybe have a birthday party or something. Sure, we're not saying forego all of these exciting things and you must stick to this, but you should be following it about 80% of the time because these are the things that serve us. And as those sayings go, like, if you don't have your health, like, what do you have, right?
Mhm.
So that can be mental, physical, all of it. And nobody can do it for you. That's the thing with
Yes.
health, even as coaches, we can give parents the blueprint plan to follow, but we can't
Mm.
reach through the computer and knock the fork out of your hand. You have
Sure.
to be the one who's committing to these changes and
Mhm.
then leading by example in your home, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, easy answer, no, but sure, can be done with the right sort of prioritization
Yeah.
and strong schedule, routine, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think getting your kids to buy into that, right? Like I know for my kids, eating protein is so critical. Like I can see it. Like when we are dysregulated, we have not had enough protein in that day. Like that is what it is. And we try to keep that from happening, right? Preventatively. But some
Mhm.
days it just doesn't happen or they need more than they did because they were more active or whatever it is. And so we prioritize that and our kids understand. Like, even though my 3-year-old, we were talking about how sometimes I make him upset sometimes because I tell him no to something or I don't let him do something or I'm not available at the moment that he wants me to be available. And so we were talking about that. And he was like, well, I was like, what makes you feel better? And he was like, well, sometimes I need protein, even though you tell me sometimes and I say no. I know that sometimes I need that. And then he's like, sometimes dance parties make me feel better. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, and sometimes snuggles make me feel better. And I was like, these are all great ideas. I love this. But that's not, he didn't just come up with that. Like we have taught that to him of
Mhm.
he understands that's how he can self-regulate and regulate with others because co-regulation is a critical piece in how we teach kids. And even as an adult, we sometimes need people to come and co-regulate with us. Like if there's a hard parenting moment and you have your partner there to help you support in that moment, when they're calm, you're able to like calm, right? Same with our
Mhm.
kids, right? Like we're
Mhm.
teaching them, we're modeling that for them. And yes, it is hard when you're trying to do these changes all at once. And so I would never suggest to do all these changes all at once. Pick something small that feels achievable. And then that's motivating, right? We get a dopamine hit of really
Mhm.
positive reward center in our brain. Then we get that dopamine and then we feel good about doing the next change and the next change and the next change. So talk to me about, so how do we raise kids that we've kind of been talking to this, but have a healthy relationship with food, have a healthy relationship with movement, with rest and creating positive associations with these things?
Yeah, like you said, I think we have been touching on it a bit or a lot, but it really is the leading by example. So, if you want your kids to be active, but you're a couch potato, they're not going to seek that
Mm-hmm.
themselves, especially the younger ages. If you're ordering skip the dishes and you want them to eat veggies and chicken for dinner, they're not going to do that. So I think it's it's just this modeling that, you're working out, you go for a run. If you have the luxury of like a gym in your basement and the kids see you doing push-ups, then your kid's going to come over and be like, oh, dad's doing push-ups, like I want to do push-ups. You're just
Mm-hmm.
putting these things in their environment that they see on a daily basis, and then they are inquisitive themselves and they want to learn more. You're
Yeah.
normalizing these healthy habits for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they're a part of the world just like we are, and they are going to get the same sort of mixed messaging, the weeds you have to navigate yourself through. But at home, you can control all those messages and examples that come through into their world. So if we're leading with these healthy habits and we're normalizing it for them, we're allowing them the opportunity to be curious about it. And then energy is contagious. So if we are coming at something with a good attitude or a good spirit about it, our kids are going to vibe into it. Like you mentioned the dance parties. If you're like putting away dishes, then all of a sudden you just like start dancing with some of the bags, your kids are going to be like, I want in on that, and like come over and like join you on dancing, and like all of a sudden they're putting bread away or like whatever, right? Like we said, the fast pace of life often we get caught up in it, and we just want to power through some of those things. But if we just check our own energy, check the way we're coming at situations, it helps a lot in the long run with how our kids are responding as well. So I'd say the biggest things are modeling what you want to see in your kids, and then your energy as well, right? Like if you're a negative person and you're always like, oh, nobody has time to work out, or I only got like 20 minutes downstairs by myself, your kids are going to think working out is like, meh, it's not important. Like it just always seems to be a problem for my dad. But if you're like, hey, today wasn't the best, but I got 20 minutes of a YouTube workout video in, that's pretty good. Hey, they'll be like, okay, like my dad took 20 minutes or my mom took 20 minutes to get this done. Like that's pretty awesome. And like, yeah, you can just move your body in a healthy way for 20 minutes. Perfect, you know?
Yeah. Well, and it's, going for a walk as a family, playing at the park. Like, I can't tell you how many I play at the park. I don't know how many other families do that, but I definitely love it because I have favorite parks because they have like a big slide or a really tall thing to climb or whatever it is. I like the ones that have like a swing, like I don't know what you call a zip line. That I love that. And I've had kids be like, excuse me, I'm waiting in line. And I'm like, yeah, dude, me
So am
too.
I.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm in line too. And they're like, what? Like you're in line? And I'm like, yeah, grownups can play too. And
Yep.
they're thinking like my kids think it's normal, right? Because that's what I've always done, even since they were little. Like, I don't know how I came to that, but I think it was just a function of the little kids, like they have a hard time navigating the equipment. And so I was like, I can do this. Like I can navigate it with them to just make sure that they're doing the thing. And so then it's like we just all play together. And so going to the park is super fun. So I think, yes, there's sometimes times to like socialize with friends at the park, which I also sometimes do. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to take a break and talk with my friend for a minute, and then I'll come back and play. But most of the time, I see parents with their phone right up to their face at the park. Like nobody, I'm like, do you even know where your kid is? With no criticism, because like there are times where my phone is in front of my face, but I really am trying to adjust that because I don't want my kids to think that the phone is so important. Because what I've heard kids say is like, I can't wait until I am this age because then I can get a phone, or I'm going to ask my parents for a phone and, they're 6 or 7 and that is, what are they really going to do with the phone? Right. But we have modeled for them that that is a priority. And there are times where I model really well and I do a good job and I have no clue where my phone is. Like last night, I had no idea where my phone is. No idea. Like literally did not find it until I went to bed. I like tried my watch to find it a couple times, but I couldn't hear it. And I was like, whatever. I know it's in the house. So it's like not a big deal. But that's good. Like when I can't find my phone, it's good. I actually don't feel sad about that. Obviously, if I need it for something important, then yes, like, calling my husband to check on him or whatever. But outside of that, I mean, it's just, we do spend a lot of time on our phones and our kids just want our attention.
Yep.
So I'm guessing we're saying, I was going to ask you the question, but I think I just answered my own question of like, we also have to model use of technology, which is something really hard.
It is very hard. And, that it is also a triggering subject, screen use and technology use. There is no doubt that it is part of our future and very much so our children's future.
Sure. Yeah.
And, getting away from it isn't an option. But just like you said, modeling healthy screen time boundaries and content appropriateness for children of all ages is very crucial. The screens kind of just happened and people just sort of consumed. But now we are at the time where we have had time with this technology to have these studies come out that are showing us the good and the bad using this stuff. And quite frankly, a lot of it weighs on the bad. There's not a lot of there are good things that come with technology, obviously, but in terms of a child's development and sort of emotional regulation, the screens are really doing them a disservice. And I think, unfortunately, screens have just been given to kids without consideration for any of these things. And now we're seeing a lot of problems as a result of this. Like our mental health rates are like at an all-time high. And I just don't think we have stolen these opportunities from kids by replacing it with the screen for convenience. Or parents often will say things like, well, everybody else has one, so like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I get it, but you know what? You don't have to give in, right? Or there are alternatives to these things. Like, we don't have to give them the power of the world in the palm of their hand. Like, there are other devices that can still offer that security and that protection that come with a phone, and children being able to make phone calls, and the socialization of like texting with friends for meeting up places, that sort of thing. Sure, there are devices that allow you to do that, but we don't have to give them everything in the palm of their hand, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tricky. And 100% it comes down to the parents and sort of, like you said, modeling those behaviors. And if you're constantly with the screen in front of your face, you are sending the message to your children that that is more important than they are. And that's scary.
Yeah. Well, and then they want that.
For sure.
Right? Because then they're like, there's something so great about this that my parent would choose that over me, which I am constantly, on the days that I'm working from home and I'm not seeing clients in my office. There are times where I have to return a text message or whatever. And I try to bunch that into times where like no one needs an immediate response. Right. And I think sometimes we forget those things of like, we want to be so accessible and everybody wants answers so quickly, but we can set those limits. And I know at my house, we only have iPads for traveling, but after doing lots of research, I'm like, they act terribly after that. And so I'm like, I don't even want to give them iPads for traveling because it's like, it's so easy to become obsessed with that thing, and also not allowing our kids to be bored and explore. And like, my kids love puzzles and they're all so good at them, and so just like puzzling, right, like together, it's so fun to watch them work collectively on this group project, and that's something they have to learn in school. So it's like, how can we teach these socially appropriate behaviors, but also just like good human behaviors to be the best version of themselves? And I don't think that the phone is going to be the thing.
No, unfortunately not. I think the phone is teaching quite the opposite, actually.
Yeah.
We glorify nonsense online, like the videos that get posted that go viral are not sending messages of like, hey, this is how to be a good person in the world. And all of a sudden it's gone viral. It's like how to waste your precious hours of your life, like
Sure. Yes.
it's sending a very backwards message. And
Yes.
there's that saying, like, it takes a village, but I think this is the wrong idea of a village.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
it's
It's
like,
tangible, real people in real life village.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like, before we mentioned the kids bringing their parents to job interviews. Well, my husband, when he had his clinic and they would interview people, like, he would have these young people who wanted to get into the industry but couldn't give a handshake. Like, he would stick his hand out and he would have people say, like, what is this for? And he's like, I want to shake your hand. Or they couldn't make eye contact at any point during their interview, and like, these basic human interaction skills are gone. They're going, and a screen's not going to bring it back. We need to do that, in our homes. We need to put our energy and focus on what we can control. And like, that's our
Yeah.
home, right? And
Yeah.
allowing screens to have a time and a place. And, obviously content is a huge one too. And there are some, really great content out there for kids to consume, which are sort of more of those like coding and interactive type things. And then there's truly just things that waste time. And unless we're monitoring these things or putting limits on them, like it's just consuming.
Yeah. And it's hard to break away. A lot of times parents will be like, how do I get my kid off of the iPad or whatever? And I mean, for me, it's about having really strong boundaries around that, like really strong limits. Like this is the expectation. But in my house, we're choosing not to give them. Not because I mean they have limits with other things, right? Like it's time to come inside. That's a limit, right? Like and so they are expected to come inside, right?
Mhm.
Or it's time to put this away, or it's time for bed, it's time to take a shower, right? Like we're doing the direction that we need them to go. But I think it is hard when that device gives them so much dopamine for free. They do nothing to earn the reward center. I mean, they're playing the game or whatever. But like when you learn to do a flip on the trampoline, like that took how many hours to do? Probably a lot. Right? I don't know how many hours it would take, but like then you're so proud of yourself and you earned that dopamine, and that's a really good way to earn it. And what sticks with our kids is that reward center when they work hard. And we want to raise hardworking kids. We don't want
Mhm.
to, I mean, personally, I do not want my kids living in my house forever. I want them to go out. Like they're welcome back, right? Like things
Yes.
happen in life, but I want them to go out into the world because that's what they're supposed to do. That's part of their biology. That's part
Yep.
of like how our society exists, right? Is that people go out, do things, meet people, find a partner, right? If that is something that suits them, and live their lives in conjunction with other humans, and that's good.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about building coping skills and resilience in our kids. What ideas do you have on those things?
I think it comes back to a little bit what we touched on before, and that really is just not doing everything for them, like allowing our kids to fail. Again, I think as parents, we think we are protecting our children by taking away those failures to be like, oh, I had to do that and it hurt when it happened. So I want to save you from that pain.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
in reality, those failures are our teachers, right? Those are
Mhm.
the moments that we learn, especially as kids, like, okay, I can't do it that way, or I shouldn't do it that way. Maybe next time I have to try something different. And when parents are constantly stepping in and doing it for them, or hey, don't do that, or watch yourself with this, we're taking those opportunities away from them, and they're just learning dependence. They're not learning, the resiliency of what it is like to fail and have to bounce back and try again. So, um, again, it kind of comes back to that patience we need to have as parents to give kids these opportunities to figure these things out.
Mhm.
And, again, very much easier said than done. But I think if you start internally working with yourself and putting the right headspace on, you can find moments throughout your day for these opportunities and start building your kids up that way.
Yeah. Well, and I think it might be consciously picking things too, right? Like having a mission, like I'm going to really work on this behavior, right? Or this tool or this skill, and then work until you feel like that part can function independently, right? There's not a lot of coaching that you need, because if you throw too many things at your kids just as well as yourself, I mean, it's going to be too overwhelming to do. So it's about, making it into bite-sized chunks, including them in it, like having a conversation about like, hey, this is a really important skill that I'm responsible to teach you. And so this is what I was thinking, or how do you think we do this? And kids have some of the greatest ideas. Sometimes they solve the problem so much better than I ever could.
Oh, for sure. Like,
Right. So it's like, yes, including
yeah,
them in the process, so important.
yeah. Like that's the best thing about kids is their thinking is like this. And as
Mhm.
adults, just over time, we've, shrunk it down to be quite narrow at times. And
Yes.
if you involve your kids, they like say something and you're like, that is so outlandish. And then you think about it and you're like, but why wouldn't that work?
Yes,
Or like, let's
yes.
just give it a try. Like, that sounds
Yeah,
wacky, but like, sure, I guess
yeah.
let's give it a try.
Yeah, and then they love that, right? Because then they're
Mhm.
part of it and then they want to be part of it. And I think it creates this lifelong connection with your kids to try out some of the things. And it's not something that we can do at our house all the time, right? Like I would love to, but sometimes we do have finite time frames, right? Like it's time to go to bed. Like I love that idea. Can we table it till tomorrow or this weekend? And I have to write things down because otherwise I forget. And then my kids are like, why didn't you remember that you said whatever? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Right. So I make notes for myself and I'm like, okay, what things did we table for later and to come back to? And their ideas, I've had some of the most fun ever with those things. And then just like exploring or like sometimes they're my art teacher. And so they tell me what the art project is that we're making. And I just follow the directions and like, okay, who cares? Like, it's awesome. They had a great time. I had fun. We laughed. It's good. Right. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter what the product is at the end. But I think sometimes we get really focused on that piece.
for sure. And I think another component to this with like, touching on resiliency and sort of that mental strength is just rumination in general. So like if we are feeling sad, let's feel the emotion, let's talk about the emotion, and then let's let it go. When we're
Hmm.
constantly stuck, or parents are like, if it's a bigger thing, especially with like a teenager, right? Oh, are you still sad about that? Or,
Hmm.
and we're constantly bringing it up that the kid is now living in this emotion. I don't think those are healthy ways to go about it, right? We want to obviously honor them and feel them and process them, but then we also need to let it go, right? We
Yeah.
don't need to identify now as sad because this thing happened to me last week, right? The
Hmm.
skill is in going through the process of it. And I think that letting it go part is often something that is like overlooked and forgotten. And
Hmm.
so as a result, we're taking away that resiliency and that self-belief that kids have, right? It doesn't always have to be this like physical challenge that they need to endure. It's
Hmm.
these mental and emotional things that they need to endure as well. So I
Yeah.
think as parents, we need to give them space and opportunity to do these things, but also understand that, like, let it go.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think too often it's for parents, especially of teens, it is triggering for us because we see a lot of ourselves, well, and parents in general, we see a lot of ourselves in our own children. And
Hmm.
so when they feel this hurt or these different emotions, we feel it because we've lived it at one point. If
Sure.
they're getting picked on in school, we
Hmm.
had our moments of getting picked on in school too. So I feel it for you. I want to take it away from you, but that doesn't mean we need to talk about it all day long, every day, every time you go from
Hmm.
to school, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you can check in without reminding them of that emotion. Like, "Hey, how was school for you today?" Like,
For sure.
how did you do at lunch or who did you sit with or whatever that dynamic is. And I think, something I say in my practice is emotions are only valuable in the moment that you feel them. Like the moment that they happen, they're telling us something, right? That's so you take the tell and then you figure out what you're going to do about that and then move forward, right? So it's exactly that of like, feel the feeling, allow yourself to feel it, right? Don't push it away because then it just gets locked up someplace else. So feel it, process it, like, okay, I'm feeling that way because of this. And this is what I didn't like, or this is what I did like, or this is what was exciting, or whatever. And then what do you want to do next? Sometimes it's nothing. Like sometimes that's as much processing as you need, right? Like that birthday party was so much fun. I loved it because they had the obstacle course. That's amazing. I love that. Right. And that's it. Right. Like we've moved on. Or that made me mad because my brother took my toy. That makes sense. What should we do next? Well, I'd like a turn. Okay. Right. So it's like, but then it's over. We don't need to keep talking about that situation. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Metabolizing emotions is so important.
Yeah. There's a really good saying that I like to use a lot, and it's that where focus goes, energy flows. So if we're constantly like as a parent sort of putting these labels on our children like, oh, you get bullied at school, like how's the bullying today? Like you said, we
Hmm.
don't need to frame it in that way. We can just simply say, how was school today? Maybe it didn't happen today, or maybe
Hmm.
they've just developed the skills to block it out, or somebody stepped in to help, whatever it is, we don't have to label it that way for them, right? Because when we constantly are, that's where the energy and the focus goes for our kids. And they're like, oh, I guess I was bullied because somebody stuck their tongue out at me. Whereas maybe if we didn't label it that way for them, they would never even have internalized the kids sticking their tongue out with them, because they've built that resiliency to be like, that doesn't bother me, you know?
Yeah, totally. Love that. Okay, so let's end with, what is a small change that parents can make like today that might have a lasting impact on their kids' health and happiness?
Yeah, I like this one. It is a little tricky for me just because we're all at a different point in our parenting journey. So to try to bookmark that, all of us being at the same place. But I think I'll answer it in two ways. So if you are just beginning out as a parent and you have little ones at home, I would highly encourage reading daily with your kids. Like I sort of mentioned before, there are just so many benefits to reading with our children every day. One of the biggest ones being that intentional time that we get to spend with our kids. So just enjoy it. Like for us, it was bedtime. We just drug it out. We did about a half an hour, and 25 minutes of that was reading, and it was fun. It was good, you know, like make voices for the characters. Like even if they're a baby, you know, it still matters. It always matters, you know? And then I think if you have older kids, something that I think is often overlooked but is really valued or could be really valued in society today is just doing mindset work with your kids. Just sort of modeling for them that positive self-talk, helping point out things that they can be grateful for in their life. We say they're like I am statements, but the affirmations that they have about themselves, helping them through those. You know, it's easy to sit down at dinner and be like, what are 3 awesome things that happened to you today? Or if you're tucking them in at night, you can list for them 3 things that you're grateful for and say, what's something that you're grateful for? I think helping put those positive things in kids' life will eventually start to internalize in their own head. And so when they go out to the world that is negative and full of a lot of things, they sort of have this shield, this guard of like, I can do this, you know, I do believe in myself. I am strong, you know, I am grateful that I have a home over my head. And I think there's a lot of value in that mindset work we can do with our kids.
Yes, I love that. Totally agree. Thank you so much, Amy, for being here today. It was such a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks again, Amy. That was all really helpful thoughts and feedback. I hope that you're able to take at least one, if not several, little nuggets away from this interview to implement with your family. With that, I will say thank you so much for your time today. Please like and subscribe to our show. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And also keep the emails coming with future show suggestions to accidentalexperts@gmail.com. Have a lovely day. Some words from our legal team.
The information presented in this podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for appropriate professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. All content, including text, graphics, images, and information contained on or available through this podcast, is for general information purposes only. This podcast makes no representations and assumes no responsibility for the accuracy or information on or available through this podcast, and such information is subject to change without notice. You are encouraged to confirm any information obtained through this program with other sources and review all information regarding any condition or treatment with the appropriate professionals.
What we're saying is, yes, I am a real therapist, but I'm not your therapist.